People were telling me, hey, you can't go play Patrick Bateman, it's career suicide.
I'm Batman.
And I was like, bring it on. I definitely want to do that.
And the Oscar goes to Christian Bale, the fighter.
Bloody hell, what a room full of talented and inspirational people, and what the hell am I doing here?
Ah yes, Christian Charles Phillips Bale. Now over the years, movie legends like Heath Ledger and Tom Cruise have put their bodies on the line for their craft. Tom Cruise has literally jumped off cliffs, held on to a freaking plane, and movie legends like Heath Ledger dove so deep into madness for his role as Joker in The Dark Knight that it tragically consumed him. But then there's Christian Bale, and honestly, the amount of work he puts in behind the scenes is just unreal. I mean, this guy goes from being super skinny to totally ripped to even sporting a full-on belly in no time. And it's not just about his physical transformation. He dives deep into each character, studies them meticulously, and fully immerses himself in them. He gets so into it that he stays in character even when the cameras aren't rolling, speaking in the character's accents during interviews, and even using that accent when flipping out at crew members in leaked behind the scenes audio.
And I ain't walking on this set if you're still hired.
It's like what our DJ said.
Man, I don't drop character till I've done the DVD commentary.
Christian, you commit to your roles in ways that I can only dream of. I just, you never turn in a bad performance. It's infuriating. I wish you would. One time, just suck once. It'd be great, okay?
So let's take a trip through Christian Bale's career and highlight all those moments where he went above and beyond. The crazy physical changes, the behavioral changes, and how he puts himself through whatever the characters went through. And for this video, we'll be going chronologically, starting with his breakout role in the movie American Psycho. Now, to be honest, it's a little unfair to label this movie as his breakout role, because some point as far back as 1987's Empire of the Sun, instead, where a 13-year-old Christian Bale snagged a major role in the Steven Spielberg film, and luckily out of 4,000 auditions, he got picked. And even at that young age, he already showed signs of his dedication, being that his character was often out of breath or in a rush, so Bale would run and jump around for minutes before each scene to also be breathless. And initially, Spielberg wasn't sold on Christian Bale's audition, but after working with him, he did a complete 180. His career took a sweet time to get going, though in the 90s, he appeared in a few notable films like Newsies, Little Women, and Velvet Goldmine. But in 2000, we got one of Christian Bale's most iconic performances as Christian Bale in the movie American Psycho, where he portrayed the character Patrick Bateman, a wealthy New York investment banker with a dark psychotic alter ego. To bring his character to life convincingly, Bale underwent a physical transformation that included achieving a lean and chiseled physique. His dedication to crafting the perfect body for Bateman's narcissistic and psychopathic character showcased his commitment to the act of acting. But surprisingly, Bale almost missed out on playing Patrick Bateman to Leonardo DiCaprio, with him even recounting how both him and the director almost got kicked off the project because the studio thought Bale wasn't famous enough, and even offered Leonardo DiCaprio over $20 million for the role instead of Christian Bale. But for various reasons, including shielding Leo and his fangirls from a project like this, Leo turned down the project. In fact, only the director, Mary Harron, was pushing for Bale to take the role, and people even warned him against taking the role, saying that it will be career suicide to play such a villain, but he dove in anyway. And the crazy part was that it wasn't even for the money. The truth is that they paid him doing the absolute minimum legally allowed since they didn't want him. It was a tough time financially for Christian Bale, and he even recalled sitting in the makeup trailer and the makeup artists were laughing at him because he was getting paid less than any of them. But this didn't stop Christian Bale from committing to the character. If anything, it did exactly the opposite. American Psycho was his first major physical transformation for a role, and even though he claimed that he never hit the gym before his role, he managed to whip up a physique for this movie that had many of us paying attention to his morning routine. But beyond the physique, he was 100% committed to the role, which meant no socializing on set, and for this role, his native Welsh accent didn't slip out until filming wrapped.
The whole time you're sort of just self-obsessed.
The whole time he was so self-obsessed in character that when he finally dropped the American accent, everyone was shocked, thinking he was American the entire time. And to prepare for the character, he drew inspiration from Tom Cruise's interview with Letterman, where Cruise had an intense friendliness with nothing behind the eyes. Bale didn't play Patrick Bateman, he became Patrick Bateman. So much so, his co-stars thought he was genuinely unhinged because he wouldn't socialize and kept his distance like a true psychopath, and he isolated himself to keep the psychological distance real. Why? Because he wanted the other actors to feel confused, uncomfortable, and disconnected from him, the same way Patrick Bateman makes everyone around him feel. This wasn't just acting, this was psychological warfare. And his co-star in this movie, Cleo Savani, felt he was so consumed by the role that she thought he genuinely didn't like her because he seemed like he didn't want to socialize at all. And get this, most of his co-stars thought he was a terrible actor, one of the worst they've ever seen, but their opinions changed after the film was released. And then there's the scene in the movie American Psycho that earned him the nickname Robo Actor from the director, because during the famous business card scene, Bale broke out into his sweat at the exact same moment of each take. This guy somehow was able to control his sweat glands on cue, and while we call it his breakout role, back then the film only did alright with critics and nothing too crazy at the box office. And it wasn't until later, thanks to DVD sales, that the film became a cult classic, and these days it's gained a huge following, especially among the Sigma male crowd. But for his next handful of films, Bale played it a bit safer. But 2004 brought us The Machinist, where Christian Bale went all out, really pushing his body to the extreme. After a few films and performances that didn't quite satisfy him, he was itching for a role to dive into head first and to obsess over. And money wasn't the driving factor here, as there was barely any involved. He wanted a challenge, a role that would push him to his limits. So in The Machinist, Bale stepped into the shoes of Trevor Resnick, a machinist grappling with insomnia that's driven him to an extreme level of thinness. For this part, Bale, standing at 6 feet tall, lost 62 pounds, dropping down to a weight of 120 pounds. Now obviously this kind of weight loss, considering his height, was seriously unhealthy, pretty much mirroring what his character was going through. And his diet, at first it was just whiskey and cigarettes, then it became a daily ration of black coffee, an apple, and a can of tuna. He was described as a walking skeleton, but surprisingly he wanted to go even further, aiming for a weight as low as 92 pounds.
Go out to dinner and he'd ask us to describe the taste of the food. I mean, this man is a sick individual. I sit at the table, all amazed and say, what's it taste like?
He even mentioned that he enjoyed the process of shedding weight, feeling a euphoria from pushing his body to the extreme. But fortunately, the filmmaker stepped in to stop him from going any lower after seeing how frightening he looked at 120 pounds on set. That target weight was initially intended for a shorter actor, but Bale really wanted to test his limits. However, dropping that much weight had its downside, as Bale struggled with action action scenes, later admitting watching me run is a joke because I have no leg muscles. He later admitted that he found himself sleeping only 2 hours a night, but had a lot more mental energy, spending many hours reading. He could even read for 10 hours straight with no problem, and despite the challenges, the film received positive reviews, with much of the praise directed at Bale's incredible performance. But for his next role, he wouldn't just need to reverse the weight loss, he would have to pack on much more, because in 2005, Batman Begins hit the screens, with Christian Bale bagging the roles of both Bruce Wayne and Batman. And obviously we all know Bruce Wayne being a superhero means he's pretty jacked. So it's no surprise that those behind the movie were a bit nervous about seeing Bale's weight loss in the movie The Machinist. And making things even more complicated was the fact that there were about 6 months between wrapping Machinist and Bale's screen test for Batman Begins. And Christopher Nolan, the director behind the movie, had only one piece of advice for Christian Bale: become as big as you could be. And for this role, Bale hired a personal trainer and spent the next half a year weightlifting and binging on pizza and ice cream.
I was just stuffing my face all day long and lifting heavy weights and eating more, and eventually went up to like 220 pounds. I just listened to what he said about get as big as you possibly can, so that's what I did.
He took it a bit too far, actually putting on a whopping 100 pounds, except the weight was too much for the role. Because of the diet he was on, a lot of it was fat. So before filming kicked off, he trimmed down, shedding around 30 pounds of that excess weight to hit a more muscular 190 pounds frame. A pretty stark contrast from his look in the previous movie, and keeping in line with Christian Bale's usual dedication, Bale fully embraced the character, reportedly even having Bruce Wayne's name written on his trailer instead of his own name. And you can bet his Welsh accent was on the down low, because during all the interviews promoting the film, he was using Bruce Wayne's American accent.
There's no need to have a dumb movie.
Why? Maybe to avoid people wondering why Batman sounds Welsh, or perhaps to help stay in character, or maybe he's just waiting until they finish the DVD commentary. And as for Batman's growly voice, yes, you know the one, that voice that has been memed like hell on social media, that was somewhat Bale's idea. He played Batman as a rage-filled monster, not like the typical Batman performances we've seen before. Nolan liked the concept and they went for it, giving Batman a growly voice that made Bale lose his own voice a few times during filming. And the Batsuit, well, Bale hated it from day one. He found it constrictive, uncomfortable, which oddly enough added to his performance, keeping him in a particularly foul mood, perfect for Batman. And for his role as Batman, Bale went all in, performing many of his own stunts and prepping for weapons training, which included Wing Chun Kung Fu and the KC fighting method. The film ended up scoring rave reviews and did decently at the box office, surprising skeptics who doubted Bale's star power in the absence of a classic Batman villain. But we now know that 2 more sequels with Bale would be greenlit that will go on to become huge box office hits. In 2006, Christian Bale took one of his wildest film productions with Rescue Dawn, directed by legendary director Werner Herzog. Having Herzog's name on your resume automatically puts you in the running for the most dedicated actor award. For those who don't know, Herzog's productions are downright crazy. Sure, they've toned down now with all the industry's safety rules, but Rescue Dawn felt like a throwback to the wilder days, and you definitely know a production is going to be nuts when your first sit down with Herzog involves him asking you how you feel about swimming in snake-infested waters. sleeping in the jungle at night, waking up with leeches on you, and biting off snakes' heads. And Christian Bale, being Christian Bale, took the part. He starred as Dexter Dengler, a US pilot shot down in the Vietnam War and taken as a prisoner, a true story that Herzog even made a documentary about beforehand. And to get into the role, Bale had to lose 55 pounds, slimming down to a mere 135 pounds. They shot the film in reverse because it's easier to gain weight than it is to lose it. But losing the weight was just the tip of the iceberg. They filmed in Thailand over 44 intense days, and director Herzog put Bale through all sorts of things that would make most of us cringe just thinking about it. Bale often went into snake-infested waters, wrestled with a real snake before switching it out for a fake one, while biting off its head, trekked barefooted through the jungle, dealt with leeches, ate real maggots, and got tied up and yanked around by a buffalo. And here's the kicker: every unpleasant thing Herzog asked the actors to do, he offered to do it himself to prove that it was safe. There were scenes where the actors, including Bale, were chained up for hours, causing a lot of anxiety. And while Bale took the brunt of it, the whole cast and crew in Thailand faced a lot of challenges too. And honestly, not many actors these days go all in like Christian Bale did for this film. I mean, how many would hang upside down by their feet with an ant nest attached to their face and get spun around? During this wild stunt, non-native English speakers spun Bale, but when director Herzog tried to get them to stop, they thought he was urging them to speed up, with ants crawling all over his face. Bale endured this mishap, leaving him unable to stand straight for days. But despite all the madness, the film did well at the box office and earned some pretty great reviews, with most of the praise going to both Herzog and Bale. Critics lauded Bale for completely immersing himself in the role, and Herzog enjoyed working with Bale, saying he recognized him as one of this generation's best talent long before he played the role of Batman. And after this, Bale's career really started to soar, getting all kinds of interesting roles, and by 2008, Bale suited up again with a cape for his role as Batman in The Dark Knight. But this time around, he barely had to gain weight. Although still very fit, he didn't have to bulk up with as much muscle mass as before. That's because the new Batsuit was redesigned to be leaner and more flexible, finally allowing Batman to move his neck and fight more naturally using the quasi fighting method. And as always, Bale did a ton of his own stunts. He even had to convince the filmmakers to let him do scenes where Batman surveys the city on rooftops rather than using a stunt double. But let's face it, Bale's dedication kind of took a backseat to Heath Ledger's legendary Joker performance. I mean, it's a no-brainer that Ledger completely stole the show in that film. Now, this next part doesn't exactly show his acting dedication, but shows just how deeply immersed he gets into the character. As in the summer of 2008, while filming for the movie Terminator Salvation, a leaked audio recording resurfaced, which featured Bale cursing out and totally losing it on a cinematographer, Shane Helbert. Poor Helbert had walked into the scene mid-take to adjust the lighting until Bale had had enough, as Bale snapped, and the meltdown included him threatening to quit and ripping into Helbert for breaking his concentration. And the kicker, he ranted in full American accent.
No! Don't shut me up!
The one he was using for the role. He later apologized, but this was a surreal moment that highlights just how deep Bale dives into character. As strange as it was, it's also a weird testament to how seriously he takes his job. In 2010, Bale once again transformed his body, this time for The Fighter, where he played Dickie Eklund, the crack-addicted half-brother of boxer Mickey Ward. Bale dropped another 30 pounds on top of the weight he had had already lost for Terminator Salvation. Dickie's addiction was central to his role, so Bale made sure to study him closely, and for this role he spent a lot of time with the real Dickie, mirroring his behavior and quirks down to a T. Bale stayed in character on set, and as always, the result was a deeply convincing, heartbreaking performance. The film crushed it with critics and at the box office, with many praising his performance, so much so that Christian Bale walked away with an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. But unlike many Oscar winners who might take things easy after winning an Oscar or kind of get unlucky, Christian Bale's career wasn't showing any signs of slowing down, and for his next role, he was about to push his body and become much more bigger than he had ever become for a movie role. And fast forward in 2013, we got American Hustle, where Bale played sleazy conman Ivan Rosenfield, who was roped into a sting operation involving the government, and to slip into character, this time Bale gained over 43 pounds, ballooning to over 230 pounds from his 135 weight in The Fighter. He went up to 199 pounds for The Dark Knight Rises, and then up again to another 230 pounds for this role. And it wasn't just the weight gain though. Bale shaved his head, rocked a comb over, and spotted a posture that even led to a herniated disc in his back. Bale was so transformed that Robert De Niro didn't even recognize Christian Bale and had to pull the director aside to ask who he was, even though he had met Bale already. But besides the physical overhaul, he spent a lot of time dissecting footage of con artist Mel Winberg, and all that hard work paid off as the film became a hit at the box office and wowed critics, scoring Bale a Best Actor nomination. But all the weight gain did put him at risk of losing his next role as Moses in the movie Exodus: Gods and Kings. But he managed to shed the excess weight just in time for the film. But looking back, it wouldn't have been the end of the world if he skipped out on that one. And in the year 2015, he starred as Michael Burry in Adam McKay's The Big Short, as Burry, the hedge fund manager who foresaw the impending crash of the US housing market. And although this role might not have required any dramatic body changes, Bale still nailed the role in usual fashion. He spent loads of time with the real Burry, picking up his quirks like walking barefooted in the office, and even borrowed his cargo shorts and shirts to wear in the film. Talk about getting into character. But his physical dedication to the role was seen in the drumming scene, where he performed it himself, despite having a terrible knee injury. Director McCain even had to have doctors on standby, just in case, while filming the movie. And not surprisingly, the movie did great on all fronts and even scored Bale an Oscar nod for Best Supporting Actor. And just 3 years later, then came one of Bale's most jaw-dropping transformations. Yes, we're talking about the 2018 movie Vice. And for this role, Bale teamed up with McKay yet again for the movie Vice, where he played former US Vice President before and during the Bush presidency. And boy oh boy, did he look nothing like himself. He bulked up to around 40 pounds, weighing at around 225 pounds. He bleached his eyebrows, shaved his head, and even splurged on a $3,000 neck exercise machine to beef up his neck for the parts. Then came the intense research and mannerisms on policies he knew at any given moment in Dick Cheney's life, so he could keep up with director McKay's improvisation directing style. And rumor has it he even reached out to the real Dick Cheney, the man himself, and although his request to meet with Dick Cheney was ultimately denied, the endeavor highlights the lengths to which Bale was willing to go to gain insight into the subjects and characters he plays. And Bale's deep dive into Dick Cheney's world even ended up saving director McKay's life. You see, Vice President Cheney had a lot of heart problems, and Bale's research for the movie on heart attacks gave director McKay the heads up on symptoms like feeling queasy and stomach pain. Well, long after that conversation, McKay, who had been very out of shape as of late, began to feel those symptoms and was rushed to the hospital. Luckily, because he got there so soon, any fatal heart damage was averted. And the movie, though not a hit at the box office or with critics, got Bale another Oscar nod and a Golden Globe win this time. But just a year later, Bale stunned everyone in the movie Ford vs. Ferrari, losing a jaw-dropping 70 pounds to become the character Ken Miles, Ford's Le Mans driver during the 60s. And for this role, he turned up on set looking skinny just 7 months after the movie Vice wrapped, which left Matt Damon shocked. And when Damon asked him about his diet, Bale just casually answered, "Well, I didn't eat." And this draining weight loss was one of his biggest, and after he declared he would no longer do this kind of weight fluctuations for roles, as it was becoming more and more unhealthy as he got older. And for his role in this movie, Bale took race driving lessons at a school whose founder was friends with the real Ken Miles, so he was getting a 2-for-1 deal in preparing for the role by hearing some old stories about Miles. But despite the lessons, Bale didn't do most of the driving scenes, as the purpose of the lessons was to give him an understanding of the mental and physical challenges a driver goes through. The movie did pretty well with the crowds and critics, though no Oscar nod this time, despite all the praise he got. And that was really one of his last performances that showed us how dedicated he can be. But that's not to say more won't come. And since then, he's appeared in a handful of movies, but still gave each of his performances his all. He really stood out in the movie Amsterdam and Thor: Love and Thunder as Gore, even though both films were poorly reviewed. But it seems like his wild days of physical transformations are a thing of the past, and even his staying in character antics have toned down a bit. As Natalie Portman mentioned, he would show up as Gore looking scary and just say, "Hey, what's up?" And the crazy part about Christian Bale's transformations is that he has openly talked about how he was never ever pressured by directors to either gain or lose weight for the roles he played, but decided to go along with the transformations because he felt it was a way to help him better play the characters. And that's truly what makes Christian Bale probably one of the greatest actors to ever do it. So there you have it, all the times Christian Bale went all out for his roles. Think there's an actor who's even more dedicated in movies? Share your thoughts below if you enjoyed this video.
I've never particularly been asked to do transformations, but you know, you just get it in your head and you just go, I need to. That's what I need to do. I don't know how to play that part without looking that way. I always talk with the director about it. It's just that they don't necessarily understand quite to what lengths I might be talking about.
My name is Media Anarchist, and if you enjoyed this video, then you should definitely subscribe for more, where we tear apart entertainment with brutal honesty, fresh takes, and zero corporate fluff. So what are you waiting for? Join the rebellion, and I'll see you in the next one.